Hi, welcome to Descope's tutorial on setting up authentication using Flows and Swift. We'll be using the Getting Started guide for Swift found online in our documentation as a reference. We'll be starting with a new Xcode storyboard project, which you'll have to create if you haven't already. Make sure that it's storyboard rather than Swift UI. Now we're going to get started with step 1, which is adding the Descope kit package. So go into your project, hit File, Add Packages. Then search up Descope. Select your dependency rule and add package. Now you can go ahead into your scene delegate and import your Descope kit package along with Swift UI, which is step 2. Now we can start configuring Descope. So the first thing that you're going to need to configure Descope is your project ID, which you can find online in your console. I'll go ahead and grab mine. And you're going to put this in the scene delegate file of your storyboard project. After that, we have a little bit of code that configures the primary view of your application. Basically, it cleans up some logger output also, but it defines the content view as the main view. So that's what we'll work on next. Cool. So we'll go select our main directory, hit File, New, create a new file, choose Swift, content view, and we'll go into the file. First thing we'll want to do is we'll import Descope kit package we just added, and then we'll use Swift UI to render content. After that, we'll start creating the view. So we'll just go line by line here. The first thing we need is our flow URL, which is the place on the web where our Descope flow is hosted. So you'll have to do this separately. So to explain the flow URL in a little further detail, essentially it's the URL to a separate site on the web where you have to host your Descope authentication flow. So for me, I just quickly added my Descope sign-in flow to React app and hosted it online. So when you start the flow in the app, it opens a browser on your mobile device with the URL that you just gave, which should have your authentication flow. Then you complete the authentication process, just like normal, and the browser will close and your sign-in details will be shared in the app. Now back to the tutorial. Let me go get my URL. I just quickly hosted a project on Vercel. So here it is. After you have your flow URL, you can write the function to start the flow. So you can see it takes the URL as a parameter and then initializes a runner, which is passed into the start function and then ultimately into the session manager. After that, we want to actually start rendering content. We'll just have like really simple button. So view for a little navigation later on. Have the navigation stack and then the view stack. And this is where we put our UI component, the button that initializes the start flow. Now we'll go ahead and test our app. So hit play to run it in the simulator. And basically what we've implemented so far is a button that says get started, and on click it should pull up the authentication flow. And we see that's exactly what happens. But we're not going to try it yet. We're going to make a login page first. So we'll go into our file directory, create a new Swift file call it logged in view. First thing, as usual, is importing Descope kit and importing Swift UI. Now we add the struct for the view. Go ahead and we set up the body. In it, we'll add just a stack. That basically says successfully signed in, and then to know that you actually signed in, we're going to get the user email address. So we'll just add first, we'll get the session. So after the flow completed in our function previously, we passed it into the session manager so that now the state is saved. Go into our session and we'll have a function that checks if things are authenticated as well as if the user email is available. I don't think we need spacing really. So now after the content view completes, we'll want to show this. So there's one last thing that we'll have to do, which is go to our content view and basically connect this to the logged in view after the user logs in. So to track if the user has logged in, we'll create a new state variable called initiated. Set it to false initially, and then we'll go into the section where the result is true, the result from the flow, and then we'll want to toggle it to true. So after the flow finishes and there's no error, initiated will become true, and then we can set the navigation destination to be first. We'll set it to be called whenever initiated is true, and then we'll have it show the logged in view. And now it should be connected. We have our button here again, but the difference is now after we complete the flow, it should bring us to the logged in page and show the email of the user that logged in. So continue. And that's it. Now we're successfully signed in. So that's how simple it is to add an authentication flow using Descope and Swift. Thanks so much for tuning in.